Rain streaked against the wide windows of Harwood Tower, turning the skyline into silver threads of light and shadow. Inside the top-floor office, Victor Harwood, CEO of the sprawling Harwood Industries, stared down at the city with the same cool detachment he used to study quarterly reports. His suit was flawless, his hair perfectly in place, his eyes like chips of winter ice. People who worked for him whispered that he never smiled. Not really, not in a way that reached his eyes. He didn't need to. Victor believed results spoke louder than kindness. It was late, the kind of late when even the janitors had gone home except one. Downstairs, pushing a mop along a marble corridor, Marcus Bell lingered in the quiet glow of after hours. Marcus had worked at Harwood Industries for 6 years, always taking the night shift so he could spend the daytime with his daughter, Alina. The mop squeaked softly as he moved. His hands were rough, his uniform worn, but his eyes were alert. In his back pocket, folded carefully, was a paper from Alina's school about an upcoming dance recital. Victor had never noticed Marcus until the night something broke here. Literally, one of the display prototypes, an advanced robotic arm used in the company's new manufacturing wing, had been left in the lobby for a board presentation the next day. Somehow, it had jammed and seized up, a $1 million piece of technology reduced to dead metal. When Victor passed through on his way out, he found Marcus kneeling beside it, brow furrowed, hands examining the exposed wiring with the careful touch of someone who'd repaired things his whole life. Victor stopped. "What do you think you're doing?" His voice cut through the lobby like a blade. Marcus froze, then slowly looked up. "Sir, it's jammed. Looks like a gear alignment issue. I thought maybe I could." Victor raised an eyebrow. "You, a janitor?" "I used to be a mechanic," Marcus said quietly. Before a broken bar he trailed off. "I just thought it'd be a shame to leave it like this." Victor studied him, curiosity flickering behind the ice. "If you can fix it, you can keep it," he said finally, with a faint smirk. It was meant as a joke, or maybe a test to one of those cold challenges he liked to throw at people to watch them fail. "But if you break it worse, you're fired." Marcus swallowed but nodded. He turned back to the machine, pulled a small toolkit from his carter, something he always carried because he hated walking past broken things, and began to work. His fingers were steady, sure. It took him 20 minutes. When he finished, the robotic arm hummed back to life, smoothly rotating and flexing like it was new. Victor's smirk faltered. "How did you?" ? "Just experience," Marcus said. "Machines aren't so different from people. You treat them rough, they stop working. You treat them with patience, they start again." Victor's eyes narrowed. "You're wasted as a janitor." Marcus didn't answer. He just cleaned his tools, wiped the oil from his hands, and returned to his mop. But something had shifted. Victor Harwood, who noticed nobody, noticed Marcus. And Marcus went home to Alina that night with oil under his fingernails and a story about a CEO who'd promised him something he didn't want, to an expensive machine but given him a chance he didn't expect. Alina was 7, a bundle of energy and imagination. She loved to dance, though Marcus could barely afford the classes. That night she showed him a routine she'd been practicing. "Daddy, if I get really good, maybe I can dance on a big stage," she said, eyes bright. Marcus smiled, though worry tugged at the corners of his mouth. The recital fee was due soon, and he was already behind on rent. Over the next few weeks, Victor found himself crossing paths with Marcus again and again. Sometimes it was intentional. He'd leave some small machine in the lobby to see if Marcus could fix it. Sometimes it was accident. But he kept finding excuses. And each time Marcus fixed something, he didn't take it home. Instead, he'd say, "It belongs to the company. I just want to help." That baffled Victor, whose world was built on ownership and leverage. Who gives back what they could keep? Victor's own life was a monument to acquisition. He'd grown up poor, clawed his way into the Ivy League, built his empire with ruthless efficiency. He believed kindness was a liability, selflessness a weakness. Yet here was a man living paycheck to paycheck, giving back what he could have claimed under a CEO's own dare. One night, Victor saw Alina waiting for Marcus in the lobby, swinging her legs from a chair, wearing a faded hoodie and clutching a pair of worn ballet slippers. Marcus had been called in to fix a flooded restroom, and she tagged along because there was nobody to watch her. She smiled shyly at Victor as he passed. Victor stopped, noticing her slippers. "You dance?" he asked. She nodded. "I'm practicing for a recital." Victor's gaze softened for a fraction of a second. He almost said something more, but the words stuck. He left without another word. That night, though, he remembered her smile. The turning point came the following week. Harwood Industries hosted a gala in the atrium, a glittering event for investors and press. Marcus was assigned to clean afterward, but Alina begged to come see the decorations. Marcus agreed, telling her to stay off to the side. The chandeliers blazed like frozen fireworks, and a string quartet played near the staircase. As the guests drifted out, Alina slipped off her shoes and began to dance quietly in an empty corner, practicing her routine. Victor, lingering after the last handshake, caught sight of her. The music from the quartet was soft now, but she moved with a grace beyond her years, her worn slippers sliding across the polished floor. Something stirred in him, a memory of his own mother humming in a small kitchen, a childhood he'd buried under ambition. He walked closer, almost in a trance. Marcus saw him and stiffened. "Sir, I'm sorry, she's just a..." But Victor held up a hand. "Let her dance." Alina spun, arms outstretched, her small frame casting a long shadow under the chandelier light. The security guards paused. The last caterer stopped stacking glasses. It was as if the whole atrium held its breath. When she finished, there was a silence. Then Victor did something nobody expected. He clapped. Just once at first, then again. The sound echoed. Alina blinked, surprised, then smiled, cheeks flushed. "What's your name?" Victor asked. "Alina," she whispered. "You're very good." Marcus looked at him warily. "Thank you, sir. We'll be out of your way." But Victor wasn't done. "How much does her recital cost?" he asked bluntly. Marcus hesitated. "It's fine, sir. We're managing." Victor reached into his jacket, pulled out a business card, and handed it over. "Call this number. Tell them Harwood Industries will cover her tuition." Marcus stared at the card, stunned. "Sir, that's not necessary. I insist." Victor's voice softened almost imperceptibly. Talent should never be wasted for lack of means. For the first time in years, Marcus didn't know what to say. He simply nodded, eyes wet. Alina hugged her father's leg, not fully understanding but sensing something had changed. That night Victor returned to his penthouse, poured himself a drink, and sat in the dark. He thought about the girl dancing, about Marcus fixing machines without asking for reward, about the hollowness in his own life. Somewhere deep inside, a crack appeared in the ice. From then on, things shifted. Victor started dropping by the maintenance floor, asking Marcus's opinion on minor mechanical issues. He began learning about Alina's progress, even attending her recital quietly in the back row. His assistant was shocked. "Sir, you've never attended an employee's family event," she whispered. But Victor only said, "Some things are worth seeing." At the recital, Alina danced like sunlight breaking through clouds. Victor felt something stir in his chest again, something like hope, or regret, or both. When the applause came, he found himself on his feet, clapping harder than anyone. Word spread through the company. The cold CEO had softened. He'd started a scholarship fund for employees' children. He introduced a program for skilled workers in lower positions to cross-train into engineering roles. "If you can fix it, you can keep it" was no longer a dare but a policy. Employees who solved problems beyond their role could earn bonuses, promotions, even equity. Marcus became the pilot case. Within months, he was training as a mechanical supervisor. Alina's dance school offered her a scholarship too, inspired by the publicity of her story. The press called it a miracle. Victor called it simply correcting an oversight. Yet despite the positive changes, Victor wrestled privately with guilt. He'd built his empire on coldness. He wondered how many Marcus Bells he had overlooked, how many Alinas he had ignored. He began showing up to work earlier, staying later, but now for different reasons. He wasn't chasing numbers, he was chasing meaning. One evening he invited Marcus and Alina to his office for dinner, a casual affair, he insisted. They sat at a polished conference table eating takeout Chinese food, laughing as Alina tried to teach Victor a simple dance step. He stumbled, almost smiled. In that moment, he realized he was happier than he'd been in years. Alina's next recital was a regional competition. Victor funded the trip personally, flying them out. On stage, under bright lights, she danced with all the confidence of someone who knew she was seen, supported, and valued. In the front row, Marcus squeezed Victor's hand on Sia, an unspoken thank you. Victor squeezed back. The story of the janitor and his daughter became company law, but for Victor it was more than that. It was a redemption arc he never expected. He had challenged a janitor with a cruel game, and the janitor's daughter had ended up changing him instead. She had shown him that humanity wasn't a weakness, it was a power, stronger than profit, stronger than fear.